Anthony and James. I'm so sorry. I'm just trying to figure my way out.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you so much for accepting my invitation. Hey everyone, this is your favorite friend Jay, or as you formerly know her, Jaylan Salah, critic for In Session Film and Geek Vibes Nation. I had the pleasure of watching Bloodline Killer, a great thriller slasher, also suburban horror film, and it tackles a lot of things, including generational trauma and all the sorts. And I'm just lucky here to talk to the writers, Anthony Gaudioso and James Gaudioso. Am I saying the names correctly? Please correct me. Anthony and James Gaudioso. This is wonderful. What I want to know is, writing you, and you're also producing this film. So what compelled you to tackle this particular film?
Well, thank you for taking the time. James, go ahead. Jump in, brother.
I think that it was something that we had always sort of wanted to embark on to make a family drama, but then introduce a slasher element to it, and sort of, well, what would that look like, and what would the ramifications of the horror that this family went through, what would that look like if we caught up with them a year later, 6 years later, whenever we, sort of caught up with them, what would that look like? And so that was where it sort of was born from, was really wanting to make a dramatic film that had slasher elements to it that we could build on.
Okay, this is wonderful. So my question is for Anthony. You received extensive performance training from greats like Stella Adler, Bill Howie. I want to know, and of course I'm asking, James as well. When you learn acting, when you take performance training, how does that help you when you're writing a script? Because sometimes I feel like writers don't know what the actors can do limitation-wise. And taking training as an actor would always help you to put yourself in the other person's shoes. So how much did this help you?
I think it was helpful. I think anytime you're in and around performance, you can glean some fantastic material. I remember when we were at Stella Adler, James and I in New York. You take moments because there's so much of that stuff for us. Those classes were about studying people, studying movement, studying each other. So with that, just by deduction, it gives you some pretty cool material. There were times, it's been a while now, but there were times where we would just go into a park in New York City. We did it a lot, and we would just kind of people watch. And
Yeah.
that alone, if you're a creative and your imagination kind of runs anyway, then it gives you some good material. That's a really, really, really great question because I remember having that thought when I was in acting school way, way, way back when in New York and going, wow, this is actually helping my writing. It does. It's weird. You find that too, James, or no?
I do. I think, it's funny that exercise that you had said, Anthony. I hadn't thought of that in years, the people watching and sort of going into the park and looking how someone's cadence or, someone's gestures. And I do think it informs you. I think everything informs you. I think taking a walk informs you. I think that all of those things help to, when you sit down and have these characters sort of flesh themselves out and sort of, come to light. I think that, the human condition helps you,
Definitely.
that's what I find, you know, yeah.
It is the most inspiring, really. And what you're telling me gives me the idea on the human creative experience in general. So thank you for sharing this with me. What I want to know is, weren't you compelled to wear the skeleton mask at any time? Because I want to try it on.
All the time. All the time. I had it here. We James and I are in California. We had it here for a long, long time. I had it right there on my desk, um, and we needed it back on the East Coast, so that's where it's living right now. But all the time, love it, love
And
that thing.
how did you create such an iconic, like, I feel like, okay, in horror movies, I feel like the villains are usually the heroes of the story. I'm sorry. So even if he's like a horror icon, a villain of sorts, how did you create this iconic character? Because I felt like he was watching, he had this omnipresent, like
Mhm.
presence to him. So I want to know, how did you come up with him? How did you create him?
He was, you know, when we were initially writing the script, I thought of all of the villains and the baddies that I had seen in movies, and I had seen vampires and Dracula and witches and zombies and mummies, and but then I thought, oh, what about a skeleton? And I thought, well, what is a skeleton? It's just a stripped down, non-complete person. And I thought, well, this villain, he lacks all the nuance. He lacks all sort of the the sympathetic nature and all the finishing touches that make us decipher good from evil. He's just an incomplete sort of rendering. And so that is why that sort of became our archetype, was a skeleton, a shell of a man. And from there, we worked with a wonderful mask maker named Howard Berger, who he had won an Emmy for uh, the
The
Anthony,
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, or the
no. He won an Oscar for Narnia, but what is the dead not the series, the zombie series that you used to watch on TV?
is it Walking Dead?
The Walking
Walking
Dead.
Dead,
Yeah.
yes.
He's just wonderful and an incredible artisan, and came on and helped us craft that.
It can be, and he's kind of iconic in that world, and he worked together with James and with the director Ante, because James had the ideas of what he had envisioned in his mind where the mask was concerned, and then Ante, our fantastic director, we just kind of worked it through and came up with that idea. And I love the way the mask came out. The mask is very freaky, very freaky.
And I think this call just brings us to our primal fears, like of our ancient times, and we're just afraid of dinosaurs, afraid of, like the skeleton
Yeah,
of death. So it worked so good.
I like that you said dinosaurs too, because it does. It's like it looks like a fossil. It's like a fossilized
Very.
skull. It's very and it's strong. I wish I had it here for you.
Oh,
I wish I
please.
put it on. I
I
wish
would
we
have
were.
loved it.
Why are we not wearing the skeleton mask right now, James?
I know we should have brought that in to the
That'd
So
be
the
great.
interview, that would be awesome. So, okay, I feel like there is franchise potential. So are you guys thinking about that? Do you think this could be like Skeleton 1, 2, 3, and then we'd have more and more Bloodline Killers?
Oh yeah, yeah. We're talking right now, and internally, and then I've had a few people reach out externally to ask about it. But we definitely want to turn it into a franchise and can see it going a really long way. That's how James envisioned it too. When we started working on the script together, it was always going to have a big world, a big universe, and we eventually want to do prequels as well,
I was gonna say
origins.
a prequel or an origin story because I want to know more. I want to know more. I want to know more. Which brings me to this dysfunctional family dynamics. Like, how do you craft this family? Like, how did you bring it together? Like, what came first? Moira or her cousin or her dad? Like, which one came first? I want to know how it just transitioned into the scene we were plunged in and the story we were plunged in.
Yeah, I think I think I just wanted to create sort of a triangle. And I thought of Moira Cole as the matriarch. And then I thought of the two sons, sort of kind of branching off. And I thought, let me build the world from there out. And if you had gone through something traumatic or very difficult, and then we caught up with you years later, how would each individual digest that trauma, and what would their coping mechanisms be, and someone who could handle it, and then someone who couldn't handle it, or someone that had repressed it, and what would they all look like? So it gave me a very good blueprint, it gave us a very good blueprint of a core. And then from that core, we built out the other characters, and sort of how they react to the family and how the trauma has affected them, vicariously.
Definitely. So what's
Yeah.
the most exciting scene to write? Like you were writing it and you felt like, yeah, this scene is gonna, and then you saw it and maybe it was different, but you were writing it and you felt this was the peak, this was a climax.
That's fantastic. Really a wonderful question. Do you want to take that out for you, and then I'll answer?
Gosh, I mean, there are scenes that I like above other scenes, but the climax, I mean, really, probably in this one is formulaically right where it should be, which is kind of in between the, you know, 2/3 into the end of the film where you're going, oh boy, oh wow, this is now we're here. I mean, because it's building, right? It builds the entire time. It builds, it builds, and builds. And I don't want to spoil it for other people that would watch this, of course, but thank you so much. And here's the key to that. But I think, yeah, right before the ending, really, or that build up right there, the last kind of piece of it, the last third of the film. That's where it gets kind of crazy.
I agree.
So I love that. I love when you're watching a movie and you're like, oh God, here we go, here we go, here we go.
I spent and we both spent a tremendous amount of time on the sort of the denouement, or sort of the end of the movie. And I think that I think people will love it, and people will be shocked, and people will have fun, and that's the most. I think that was really wild to see that come to life.
Wonderful. So you want to take people coming out of it just to think, I want to see more of skeleton, or I feel bad for this. Like, as a writer, as someone who has written before, I feel like sometimes we have these things that we want people to take. So what do you want them to take? Do you want them to get invested, to think about suburban horror, the horrors that families kind of bury deep down in basements? Or do you just want them to sit at the edge of their seats and go like, oh, okay, I want more?
I think so. Yeah. I think, for us, yeah, and that's a fantastic question. You want a little bit of both, right? You want to follow the family, but you don't want to get bogged down in, just sadness, just being, boring, or the tedious nature of that. You want a really strong story, but you want to move, and you want those moments. And I personally think, and so does Ante and James and Rob, our other partner, in the second one, we want to ramp up the scares, ramp up the action, ramp up the horror. You know, I'm excited to make this to make a lot of these films, and then to put you in one of them and have your character die.
Or James? I thought, okay, I'm getting out of this brotherly duel. Because I hope I don't die in the movie. I'd rather be skeleton, okay? If I'm gonna be in this movie, I'm gonna be a skeleton. I tell you both.
Yeah, he always wins.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, James and Anthony Gaudioso. I just had so much fun. I hope I was, like very good host and gave you questions that you felt.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.